ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Esoterica. I'm really enjoying this whole fortnightly thing. It's quite nice.
Me
I
too.
feel like really refreshed whenever we come in and we have a bit of a chat. I was thinking
What
about
game
that.
mode do you enjoy the most? No.
New Game Plus.
Yeah.
Ooh, we've had a lighting change.
Talking of New Game Plus.
Yeah.
You entered the
that's
New
it.
Game Plus.
Yeah,
Sorry, if
this
you're
is-
listening, this will not make any
No,
sense.
this is okay.
Oh no, we can keep going. We can keep going.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah. We'll
It's
just
fine.
keep talking.
By the way, this is free.
Yeah, this is
For those of you watching,
this is free premium content.
Those of you listening, it's still free.
Yeah.
But
But you have no idea what's happening.
You're not seeing the lighting changes.
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
happening.
So that's what happens when you enter the boss area and just everything
It
goes
is.
red.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've now entered the boss
The
area of this
music's
podcast.
very dramatic to it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all minor keys and things. Yeah.
So we weirdly have in order to this is a little background peek. In order to light this, we have some LED lights that sit on the ceiling. But weirdly,
Showing off now.
every now and then they change with random sounds. And we haven't quite worked out what those sounds are or why they change. So every now and then, as a bonus feature, if you go back through some of our older podcasts, you'll see a lighting change somewhere where the lights have just randomly changed colour.
Yeah.
So that's what happened there. Okay, so beer of the week this week. I'm going to get you to introduce the beer of the week this week because this is something you've brought to the table.
Yeah, so this is bonus Mandarin IPA. So the bonus obviously comes from the fact that they've made it look like a bonus level, and you can see on the photos and things on Instagram. It's by Moa Brewing Company, which is Marlborough, New Zealand, and it's obviously a very citrusy beer. Very, very citrusy. I mean, they even say on the label that it's a heavy dose of Mandarin hop to drive home a fruit aromatic finish. So it's now I've had this before. I had it actually at work. Someone at work bought it for a blind taste test.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to talk about it until James has, because I have some strong opinions about this beer.
I haven't actually tasted this yet.
Oh,
so
okay.
we're going to do the first taste live on camera. So here we go. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, right? Yeah. For those of you listening,
It's,
we're getting some strong
watching.
reactions from James.
Some strong reactions.
Yeah.
It's very citrusy.
It is very citrusy.
I don't quite know. I don't quite know what to do with that. That's I'm trying to sort the flavors out in my mind.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't immediately go Mandarin. Like I wouldn't.
It's quite
I'd
a piercing. It just gets right in there, just piercing.
It's very heavily citrusy.
I think it's quite offensive.
I would probably agree.
No, you know what I mean. Like it doesn't.
It smacks you round. It's not
It's
not
the
a
friend
yeah.
you have that doesn't know social boundaries. It'll just smash into your home at whatever hour, and it'll eat the food in your fridge.
Yeah, I'm sort of like
Yeah.
like my mouth is a little bit confused as to whether this is a beer or like it's incredibly citrusy. I wouldn't say it's sweet.
No, it's
I
not.
would say that it's quite bitter.
And it's not citrusy in a good way. It's like taking a bite into a lemon.
Yeah, it's quite bitter. Like and I think that the hops obviously make it like increase the bitterness level. It's a very bitter kind of
If it was
drink.
at least sour, like if they added some sour into it, I think it would be a lot better. But because there's no sour, it's just the citrusy bitter. It's very intense.
It's very intense. So how are you feeling about this?
I'm not that impressed with it. In fact, I'm quite annoyed with it. And I was annoyed with it. I wanted to give it another go because in the context I had it last time, we were trying lots of different beers, and actually every other beer we had was fantastic. It was very, very good.
Yeah.
So I thought I've got to give this another chance because I feel like we were really harsh on it.
Yeah.
So this was my way of giving it another chance. And no, I'm not impressed. I would say a solid, well, not a solid, but I'm looking at the moment about a 4.5. I'm not.
My
it's not terrible.
My
Like,
gut was about 4.
Yeah.
Actually, funnily enough, the more I drink it, the less offensive it becomes, and maybe that's just because my mouth gets a little bit
palates
used to it. But I can't say it's a beer that if I was sitting there walking through the supermarket or somewhere else looking for a copy, I'd go, yeah, that one. I had that one, and that was great.
Yeah.
It's certainly an interesting taste.
I just wanted you to suffer with me.
You wanted me to suffer with you. Thank
No,
you.
but
Thank you,
I
Anthony.
wanted to make sure that I wasn't like that. We weren't wrong about it, and that because I'm all for giving things a second chance. So I wanted to,
again, as I said, the more I drink it, the more it becomes drinkable.
I think
When
it's
I
drinkable.
first tasted it, I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah. And to be fair, we've been drinking a sort of a weak lager.
Yeah, I'd be kind of. I'm trying to think off the top of my head at the moment who this would appeal to. Do you know what I mean? Like
People with very weak taste buds, so that they.
Well, I kind of sit there and I go, it's not citrusy enough that it's going to. It's not citrusy in kind of a sweet way, so it's going to appeal to people who aren't generally beer drinkers. So it's not that kind of sweet. I don't think it's sort of going to appeal to beer drinkers because the level of the citrus in it masks the taste of the beer.
It does. Yeah.
So I'm sort of weirdly trying to work out who they're pitching this at.
Do you feel like they've just gone? It's a crafty beer. Let's just pump as much as we can into it, and the balance is all out. And
yeah, I mean, if you are somebody that likes a really, really strong IPA, like you like something that's really smacks you in the mouth, then this is the beer for you. Again, it wouldn't be something that I'd be like, oh, that one, yeah, I had that one. That one was good. I would struggle to recommend it. To someone, and that's not a go at Moa, because we have done some Moa before, and generally they do some pretty good stuff, but this would not be a beer I would be recommending to people.
No.
So thank you for that, Anthony.
Well, the reason I picked it was, again, I knew it would spark conversation. I knew it would be a point of interest.
And so you know that these beer tests are legitimate. We're not just giving scores, good scores to beers. So
we like Moa, just not
this one.
Just not
this one.
Yeah.
So it might be a relatively slow drink, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. So moving right along into what's on top. So
what is on
I was
top?
having a little bit of a think over the last week, and I've been reading a number of articles.
Did that hurt?
It did. It hurt quite a lot. I've been reading a number of articles about a few things that the government is looking at doing, right? And this got me thinking. It got me thinking a little bit about... now, obviously, I work in the education field, so things that the government proposes sort of directly affect my job and directly affect what I do, and that sort of thing. And I have some very strong opinions about things that I think would be beneficial for the government to be doing and that sort of stuff. So this kind of got me thinking, and I thought, if you were Prime Minister for a day, let's sort of waive conversations around what your actual constitutional rights are and stuff. But let's say for whatever reason you're Prime Minister for the day and you can change anything about the country overnight.
You're dictator for a day.
Dictator for a day.
Yeah.
You can change anything about the country overnight, and that's the way things are going to be going forward. I'm quite interested to hear what those things would be and sort of what they would focus around. I know I have a couple of things that I would certainly change, and mine are all very sort of social and leaning. Like, so I suppose you would say kind of social engineering would be the way that I lean. But I'm curious, so I'm going to throw it out there to you, Anthony.
Okay.
Give me the first thing that you would change if you were Prime Minister. The first thing that you would, the first law that you would make, or the first thing you would.
By
change.
the way, this has been sprung on me.
It has been sprung on Anthony.
Okay.
So Anthony has no prep time.
The first thing I think about is the amazing work they're doing out at Mahia.
Okay.
With the space program. So with the space, they're launching rockets.
So is it SpaceX? I think is that the company?
I think it might be.
I think it's SpaceX.
Yeah, SpaceX.
Out there, launching stuff on the Mahia Peninsula,
which is amazing.
Yeah.
Out there, Mahia Peninsula, and so my feeling is that for those of you who don't know how to indicate around roundabouts, we launch them into the fucking sun.
I see.
Like straight into the sun.
Okay. So
if you don't know how to indicate around a roundabout, you have a driver's license and you have a vehicle that you drive, and that you are involved in traffic. And
Yes.
if you don't know how to indicate around a roundabout, which, by the way, takes
Mm-hmm.
a very small motion from your right
Yeah,
hand.
yeah.
And I know BMW drivers are going, "What's an indicator?" But guys, it's and there's Stella going.
Stella's saying
by the
hello.
way,
Stella
Stella's making a
agrees.
Cameo.
Stella
appearance.
agrees with you. Yeah.
We'll launch you into the sun, like straight into the sun. You will get to say goodbye to your family members. But
So it's a humane way.
it is
You
humane.
get to say goodbye
However,
to
your family members probably they will get to say goodbye, but they're probably going to be pretty upset with you.
I mean,
Like, they will
admittedly-
be upset because they'll know that you don't know how to indicate around a roundabout.
Admittedly, they're
They're
going to be
upset.
better off.
They will be.
You know.
Oh God,
like,
going to work in
because-
the morning, they're not going to have to put up with you going around the roundabout
and not indicating
incorrectly.
correctly.
Yeah. So that would be the first thing. That would be my number one over everything. Over
Actual social change.
over the problem that we have with the over the problem we have with the brain drain, with homelessness, with mental health issues, everything. That would be the first thing I'd do.
Excellent. So
My
so,
tongue is very firmly in cheek.
yeah. So launching people who don't. Okay. So I'm going to give you.
By the way, Hawke's Bay has more roundabouts. Sorry to interrupt. Hawke's Bay has more roundabouts per capita than anywhere else in the world. We
However-
have more roundabouts, and no one knows how to use them.
However, I would argue that it keeps traffic moving way better.
No, it does. It does.
So like I
Absolutely.
hated when they
I played
did-
City Skylines.
and they've now
played SimCity. I
they've
know.
now moved. What do you call it? They've now started to change this, but it used to drive me nuts, right? When they built the expressway. So the expressway was supposed to be like, an expressway between Hastings and Napier. It was supposed to be a quick way of going, between one and the other because lots of people travel between Hastings, Napier, and Taradale for work, right? From wherever they live. But the problem was, one direction of the expressway, heading from Napier to Hastings, or whatever, they put a set of traffic lights in.
Yeah.
You're like, what are you doing? So they
know.
bring the entire thing to a halt, and every morning it used to get backed up the whole way down the expressway because of the traffic lights on this expressway. They've now changed it to a giant roundabout,
They have, which is
which
great.
works and
Yeah.
is so much better. But why they didn't put a roundabout there in the first place? But we do. We have so many roundabouts here in Hawke's Bay. So many roundabouts. You drive
do.
through town, and there are roundabouts every sort of 2
Especially
blocks.
in Hastings.
Every 2 blocks is a roundabout.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it works really, really well. And anyone who's played City Skylines or any sort of city simulator will know that.
Yeah.
Or anyone who's driven to work in the morning,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to wait for lights. So, but no one knows how to use them. It's incredible. And I think it's small. I think it's small.
No, but I also
as well.
think that it became that thing, when they sort of changed the road rules about how to indicate on a roundabout, and that you now had to indicate off a roundabout, for example.
Yeah.
People got really confused about like what indication looks like on a roundabout.
It's not that hard.
It's really
Okay,
not that hard.
For people who are confused, okay, this is it. If you're going left at a roundabout, okay, so there's a circle, right? If you're going left, you indicate left. If you're going straight, do not indicate. If you're going straight ahead until you're leaving the roundabout,
Then you indicate off the roundabout.
correct. So
Yep.
you if you're going straight, you indicate as you
You indicate
as you
left
pass
coming off the
as you
roundabout.
pass the first exit, you indicate to where you're leaving.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're going right, you indicate right,
And then-
make sure you're in the inside lane for the love of God,
Yeah.
and then go all the way around.
So you indicate right, and then you indicate left to come
Correct,
off the
yeah.
roundabout.
As
so,
you leave,
so the
you
rule
indicate,
of the rule
yeah.
of thumb is that you indicate left to signal which exit you're taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You only indicate right coming in if
Yeah.
you're turning right. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because that signals everybody else. But it seems to be a great source of confusion.
Yeah.
All right.
not.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a slightly serious one because I have 2 slightly
Okay.
serious ones.
Yep. Yep.
The first thing I would implement on if I was dictator for a day and I could change anything, first thing I would implement, everything closes on a Sunday and everything closes between Christmas and New Year.
Wow. No,
Everything.
I like that. No, okay.
Everything shuts
Okay.
down.
So please,
And-
okay.
So my reasoning for this is because, and I know there'd be business people going, "Oh my god!" But the reasoning for this is, okay, people will still spend the same amount of money in your stores as they did before.
Yeah.
Because people will now go shopping on a Saturday or whatever, or for God's sake, have a late night on a Friday night if you really want to do that. But closing on a Sunday would mean that there is one day, and I haven't picked Sunday for religious reasons. I've picked Sunday just as a weekend day. Everything closes on a Sunday because it gives you one day of the week that entire families are together.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. It's really important for kids, it's really important for parents, it's really important for everybody to spend that time together as a family. Not necessarily out shopping, not doing whatever, but just spend time together as a family. If you enforced closures on a Sunday, the people that I think it's going to disproportionately benefit are people in lower socioeconomic areas. Because people who, we have this weird fallacy that people who are in lower socioeconomic groupings and things like that, don't work and that sort of stuff, which is absolute rubbish. They actually work far harder than everybody else. They work very low paying jobs, generally shift work, that works through things like weekends and things like that. Quite often with mothers and fathers, for example, who work different shifts and don't see each other. There's never time in which the whole family is together. Close the whole thing down on a Sunday. Give it at least one day in which the family can just be a family. The same thing between Christmas and New Year. You've just got a whole heap of new shit. You don't need to go out and buy new shit on Boxing Day. You don't need to do it. You can spend your vouchers after New Year. You can, it used to drive me spare whenever I worked in retail. And you'd be sitting there and you'd be closing up at midnight on Christmas Eve, changing things over for Boxing Day sales. You'd then have Christmas Day off, but you'd be back in first thing in the morning for Boxing Day, and you'd have people from head office messaging going, I hope you have a great holidays with your families and stuff. Head office will be opening again in 3 weeks time, and you're like, motherfucker, I am not having a great holiday. I am here till midnight changing over all your frickin' signage till 1 o'clock in the morning. Then what do you call it, can't drive down to meet my family for Christmas because I have to be back here for Boxing Day. Those sorts of things I think are really important, and I think they're really important for people to spend time with each other. Give everybody a frickin' week off between. I don't think it will change the turnover of businesses. I don't think it will change anything else like that, because people will just change. People will just change their shopping habits.
They will.
So close it down. That's the first thing I do. Close it down. I think that, what do you call it? And
people get thing is, no one's getting paid in that week anyway.
So I think that
they're getting paid before, so they can stock up on whatever.
So I think, but I mean, the thing is I sit there and I go, I think it would have so many increased benefits in terms of, I think it would lower your crime. I think it would lower your divorce statistics. I think it would lower, youth delinquency. I think it will increase educational outcomes for kids. All those sorts of things. I think it will have huge, wide-reaching social benefit doing it. And I think it's really important. So that would be...
That's a really good one.
That would be my first one.
Good one. That's a really good
one.
one.
That would be my first one. Have you thought of anything else?
We were talking to very good friends of ours earlier, and I think one of the things I'd want to be able to do is make a diagnosed mental health or mental illness condition coverable by ACC.
Awesome.
So the problem we have at the moment, and so this is an argument that I've had with family, with not just family. I don't want to pin that on family, but with a lot of people about so where we live at the moment, we've seen an uptick in homelessness. There's been a real problem in Hawke's Bay and Napier with homelessness, and there is an incredible, in my view, a lot of it comes from people are quick to judge as to why people are homeless, and it's easier for people to believe that they're homeless because they choose to be. I think it's very difficult for people to actually address why they're homeless, and of course a big reason for that is it's the mental illness is one of the biggest reasons why people are homeless, because there is nowhere for them to go, or they simply don't have the capacity to go, I need help, or I need to do this, and actually the problem as well is that ACC doesn't cover, so you can be homeless and you can have mental health conditions, and there's actually nothing that the state can necessarily do for you.
Well, we also that tied hand in hand with the fact that we closed down mental facilities, residential mental facilities.
So and just for a bit of background, so like what James is referring to is in 1989, I believe it was 1989, the Institutionalized Mental Health Act. Was that New Zealand, and with all good intentions. Okay, so we with foresight we can say with all good intentions, institutionalized mental health centers went out, and the reason for that was very valid. Okay, so it was very scary
Well, the
putting
idea was
people
to,
away.
but the idea was to reintegrate. So
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
what we're going to do
Yeah.
is we're going to take people who suffer from mental illnesses, and instead of keeping them in asylums or long-term mental health care, what we're going to do is reintegrate them into society.
Integrate them into the community. Yeah, and which is a very good idea.
Noble intentions.
Yeah, noble intentions. But of course, the what ends up happening is that it works a lot of the time, but all too often what ends up happening is that you're putting people back into society who have to deal with the stresses of rent, of basically the stresses of everyday life, who don't necessarily have the capacity to deal with that, and who don't have the support of family, who don't have the support of people around them, and we know this. I think you would agree that over the last 20 years, suburban communities have become far more closed off.
Yep.
You are far less likely to talk to your neighbour or have a meaningful connection with your neighbour now than you have ever had in human history.
Yep.
I believe.
Yep.
And I think we've seen this statistically. We've seen this.
Yep.
So these people are being more closed off, and unless they have strong, close family ties who will help them out, they struggle and don't have support, and they can't go to ACC for support.
The biggest sort of people who are affected by this, or the biggest group of people that are affected by this, are people who suffer from quite severe mental illness.
Yeah.
But who are okay on medication. The problem with it is that what happens is those people end up in ED, or they end up in emergency health care because things have got so bad, they're not taking their medication, they're not doing whatever else like that. The hospital system and stuff like that picks them back up, gets them back onto their medication, gets them, sorted out, gets them sort of to a point that they're, functional and that sort of stuff, and then sends them back out to the community. The problem is that those people actually don't have the capacity to take their medication.
Yeah.
They don't have the ability to remember to take their medication frequently and regularly, or to go and pick up their medication, or to do all of those kinds of things. So what happens? They go off their medication. As soon as they go off their medication, then problems arise. They end up not paying bills. They end up out in the street. They end up all of those sorts of stuff until they're picked up by the healthcare system again. Yeah. So it becomes this big revolving door.
Yeah.
Of we get you right, we send you back out again, you collapse, we bring you back in, we get you out, and it's those sorts of people that are like disenfranchised the most by the closing of those kind of care facilities and those sorts of things. Not 100%. That I'm advocating, sticking people in what, and I'm sure you're not into what would traditionally known as asylums, but sort of residential care communities, those kinds of things, funded by the government to look after people who are incapable of being functional members of society without that kind of care. And without that kind of,
Yeah, and like you say, I think communities in New Zealand are unfortunately a lot less, they're a lot less communally driven than they used to be.
I'm getting rid of this beer. I can't.
No, fair enough.
I actually can't drink it.
I'm
going to drink me a Hagen.
Yeah. All class.
Yeah,
I'm not minding it too much.
I can't do it. You can finish that one.
No, fair enough. We do have fantastic communities in New Zealand that do look after people like Kohipa and places like that. But we struggle, especially now. We just don't really. We're not as open as we used to be, and I don't know if that's just me being.
And we also don't fund it in the way that probably we should.
No,
which is governmental.
Things like community gardens and things, which have been huge in Europe. Community gardens, community centres. That's fallen by the wayside. That comes down to local governments in New Zealand and to the government.
That segues quite nicely into what my second thing is. So my second thing is, again, because I'm going to look at a European model here, and I'm going to look bizarrely at the French model. And tomorrow, I would get rid of school canteens, and I would institutionalize school lunches, potentially school dinners and breakfasts across every school in the country.
I really like that one.
Every school in the country. I don't care about your socio-economic status of your school. Yeah. Every school in the country. And the reason that I say the French model is distinct from the English model. The English model, it was a race to the bottom for who could provide the most food for the cheapest amount, which wasn't great. But the French model, in every district or whatever, they have a nutritionalist that goes around every school. They plan the meals for
Fantastic.
every week, every
Yeah.
month, exactly what the kids are going to get, all of that sort of stuff. So it's nutritionally balanced and all of that sort of thing. But for every kid who comes to school, they get at least lunch. And I think that, yes, it would be an expense on the taxpayer. However, I think the long-term benefits of that would be massive. I think that you would significantly impact truancy. I think you would significantly impact educational outcomes for kids.
Yep.
I think you would significantly decrease criminal activity and, then the necessary incarceration of criminals. Those kinds of things. I think it would just make such a huge difference.
Yep.
Such a huge difference to and for people who sit there and go, it's fine. Like, there are, honestly, I read an article in the newspaper that talked a little bit about this, because the government is looking at trialing this in low socioeconomic schools. But I would argue that there are a number of schools that are not in low socioeconomic areas who have kids that come to them who are from low socioeconomic families. So it's not necessarily, okay, your school might be a Decile 7 school, where you're sitting in a reasonably affluent area of the community, but that doesn't mean that everybody that goes to that school is a relatively affluent person. Like, you can be having families there that have nothing. And I was reading about in the Herald about a family that was talking about the fact that this teacher was talking to this kid and was saying, oh, did you have dinner last night? And they said, oh yeah, we had red soup. And they're like, what is red soup? And they were like, it's literally the water that the Cheerios they'd eaten the night before were boiled in, was red soup. So that is the kind of, and that is not a dig at that family. They literally cannot afford to feed themselves and that sort of stuff. And I just think that actually giving kids across the board a nutritional meal, I think it is the least that any humane society could do. Yeah. And I think it would have massive social benefits down the line.
I mean,
massive social benefits.
The thing is, people, unless they've ever been in a position where they've gone to school and they're starving, expecting that kid to learn or concentrate, or I mean, be reasonable.
For God's sake, we have a term for it. Hangry. Everybody knows what it's like when you haven't eaten in a while and you're angry and you can't concentrate and you're not, you're not on your game and everything's a big deal and all of that sort of stuff. Take that, for example, with teenagers, and you multiply the effect of hormones on that and everything else like that. I mean, good God, can you imagine what it's like for some of those kids going to school? And if they're like that, I honestly believe the societal payoffs down the track would be exponential. I think we would save so much money in unemployment because people will be coming out of school with more qualifications and better educated. I think that we would save on, as I said, imprisonment and through the justice system, because there'd be less people turning to crime in order to fund those kinds of things. I just... To me, I go, if you could change one and leave the curriculum alone, don't worry about the curriculum. The curriculum is not inherently going to create better educational outcomes for kids. Feeding them will. Feeding them will. 100% feeding them will. For God's sake, let's feed them. Like, how can we live in a country that is one of the biggest agricultural providers, food providers for the world, and yet there are huge amounts of kids in our country who do not have enough food to eat? That is fucking criminal. It is. It's criminal. And I just sit there and go, how can we not get our shit together and just go, you know what? That's what we're going to do. Across the board, that's what we're going to do. And do you know what the big advantage private schools have? The big advantage private schools had, not because they're taught any better, not because anything else that happens. The big advantage they have is they feed their fucking kids.
Yeah. 100%.
Breakfast,
with you,
lunchtime, dinner, the kids are fed. That's the biggest difference. And good God, I mean, I know, again, we as deans keep food in the dean's office for kids that come to school and haven't had breakfast and can't eat and stuff, but it's not enough. It's a stopgap measure, and that comes out of our pocket.
Yeah.
Like, for God's sake, feed the fucking kids.
Yeah.
Like,
100%. Yeah, I mean, and
don't care what it costs.
that's
Don't
the
care
future.
what it costs.
It's the future, you
Yeah,
know, and that's the thing, and that's what we always talk about. I mean, we always talk about the fact that health, number one, if you have a healthy country,
Yep. Everything else falls into line.
you go health, education,
Yep.
and then the rest sort of fall in.
Yep.
So, you know, you need a healthy country.
But I mean,
You need an
legitimately,
educated
even if they were like, we're going to massively increase your taxes, if they said to me, you're going to pay an extra, $100 a year to feed kids at school.
Which is nothing, really. When you divvy that up over 50
No, but I mean,
weeks.
like, even if, that's quite a
Yeah.
significant increase in my tax. Like, if they're like, you're going to pay an extra $100 a year in taxes to feed every kid in this. Yep. Do it. 100%. 100% do it.
And
Like,
if you don't, you're a if you're not okay with that, then actually you need to do some inward.
Oh.
You've missed an important developmental stage in your life.
Yep.
If you don't think that's worthwhile. My next one's probably going to be controversial.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw this out there.
Yeah.
I would restrict property ownership to 2 properties per person.
Okay. Yep.
We have a huge problem, for those of you living overseas in New Zealand, with property ownership. And it is only going to get...
In that we can't fucking own any.
Yeah. And it's only going to get worse. So there's this pathological desire in New Zealand for everyone to own as much property as
It's not
they
even.
can.
It's not even desired. There's New Zealand is. I think this is an interesting thing, and this comes from the Michael Joseph Savage government, the first Labour government, where they leveraged huge amounts of money from the Bank of England to build state homes.
Yeah.
What became state homes, and then people would purchase homes off the government for a substantially low interest rate and things like that, which meant that they got huge amount of people into houses. Like at one stage, it was
very
something like
popular.
80,
It was
90% of all New Zealanders owned their own home, which is insane.
It was one of the most incredibly popular moves the government ever did.
But from there, what that's meant is that every New Zealander feels it's their right to own one, if not 2 properties. Your property and then a batch.
Yeah.
That's the Kiwi mentality. What it means to make it as a Kiwi is that you own at least your home in a batch. Yeah.
So property values have, as they have around the world, this isn't a local thing. This is, as you know, everyone listening to this knows.
Yep.
This is an issue where property value is a really funny thing. Okay, and so is paying rent on a property. So you pay your rent based on the value of where you live, and the value of where you live is based on utilities and land value.
No. Do you know the biggest indicator of property value?
What?
And this is also something that I get rid of. Is school zoning.
Yeah.
is the biggest indicator of property value.
It is.
You get rid of school zoning, you knock at least $100,000 to $200,000 off people's houses.
Yeah.
But anyway,
You
sorry,
do.
carry on. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm going even more sort of isolated in that. Like, the slice of land that you've bought is based off of utilities that were built by your council or by your government or by people who were far more creative than you are. So I don't mean to be rude. No, I do. I do. No. Okay, so the greatest cities in the world. You think of places like Paris.
Yeah.
And London and New York and these cities were built on the backs of really phenomenal people who injected value into that city by being extraordinary or who built phenomenal buildings or who put on fine works of art and this made those cities desirable places to live. So so your slice of land, you're profiting off of the backs of previous hundreds of generations. Well, not hundreds necessarily, hundreds, but plenty of generations before. You're buying off the backs of generations before you who have made this city or community a fantastic
Yeah.
place to live. And in my view, I mean, I know we've been indoctrinated to think like that's normal, and I don't mean to sound like I'm truly woke or I've got to I'm this higher plane of thinking. But can you really debate that isn't a really odd, not even wrong, but an odd concept that.
I think the difficult thing is that when you look at how far property prices have outstripped people's ability to purchase them.
80%, by the way, Hawke's Bay, 10 years.
But if you look at, okay, so for example, I work for the government. I'm a teacher, so I work for the government. I have a governmental job. In order to have my job, I need to have at least a degree, if not postgraduate study. I always think it's funny whenever you talk to people and they're like, you do such an important job. You're a teacher. Yeah, okay. I could not afford to buy a house. I could teach for years and years and years. I could not afford to buy a house. Do you know why I couldn't afford to buy a house? It has to do with the fact that the amount of money I earn, there's a couple of things that go into it. So, for example, in New Zealand, you have to have, I think it's 20% deposit on a house, right?
That is. Yeah.
Saved in your bank account before the bank will loan you the money to buy a house. If it's your first house, I think they've done some things where you can bring that down to 10.
Yeah, you can get a grant.
It's really hard to get, but
It's like a 10%
you can potentially bring that number down to 10%. The government will say, "Oh no, we've made all these things available for people to bring." It's really hard to qualify for that. So generally, you need 20%. Now, if I look at the average house price of where I work, for example, now the average house price of where I work, if I wanted to buy a 2-bedroom house in the middle of everything, no land, requires a bit of work, it's going to cost me the better part of $500,000 to $600,000 to buy a house, right? $500,000 to $600,000 to buy that house. So that means I'm gonna have to have around about 50 grand, 60 grand in the. I'm gonna have to $100,000 in the bank.
Yeah,
$100,000 to get 20% essentially, $100,000 in the bank. Okay, so people go, okay, you need to save $100,000. Great. How am I going to save $100,000 when generally over half my paycheck goes into paying my rent? And I have, petrol on top of that, and insurances on top of that, and everything else like that. So I live all right. I live relatively comfortably. I'm not saying that I don't. But house ownership is never going to figure in my future. If I continue to do the job that I'm doing, house ownership is never going to, because there's never going to be a point in time in the realistic future in which I am going to have $100,000 in my bank account.
Yeah.
That's just actually not going to happen. Short of me winning the lottery, I am not going to have $100,000 in my bank account. Either that, or it's going to take me the better part of 90 years to save $100,000. So the prices of houses are so far out of the price range of somebody who, again, is a qualified person who should be earning decent money working for the government. So that's not even considering, and I earn above what would be certainly above what would be considered to be the average wage in New Zealand. So what you're saying is that house ownership for your average New Zealander is just not a possibility. It's just not attainable outside of, as I said, winning the lottery. And the stupidity of it is that when you actually own a house, your mortgage repayments are generally far cheaper than renting. So, far cheaper than renting. So the stupidity of it is it's not that these people cannot afford to pay off a mortgage. No. They just actually can't afford to get a mortgage in the first place.
Of the the buy-in for living cheaply is high. It costs a lot to live cheap. So, you can live a fair weather lifestyle if you have the money to buy into it.
Yep.
And again, and this is time and time again, a common trope in our society, or even just it's actually just I don't mean to sound, but it is it's actually a result of capitalism. That's how it works, and it is. It's if you can, it's that classic thing where you always hear the mega rich will say, like, it's funny, like when you become rich, people start giving you things.
Yeah.
You no longer have to pay things.
Yeah.
But the moment you become rich, people start giving you things, and that's.
Oh, it's like Murphy's. What is you saying about Murphy's law? In order to borrow money, you first have to prove that you don't need any.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, exactly. Which is an insane concept, but
true.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. So so that's.
But I don't understand my second thing. Okay, if you're going to go to owning only 2 houses, absolutely. But my actual second thing would be I don't understand why we don't do something very similar. And I know the government sort of talked about it, but do something similar to what Michael Joseph Savage did. The government borrows a shit ton of money at very, very little interest, so 2 to 3% interest. Borrows a shit ton of money. They build a shit ton of houses. They build a shit ton of state houses. Yeah. And those state houses, the irony of it is people still buy those state houses because they were incredibly well made, incredibly well, constructed and those kinds of things. And they whacked up like hundreds of thousands of these things, over the course of a very short period of years. Why they don't look at doing exactly the same thing, mortgaging them back to people, like let's say you're borrowing for 3%, mortgage them back to people at 5%, they're still getting less money. You're still paying less money in interest than you would be to the bank.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting into a home. You're buying a house that is.
It makes so much sense.
It destroys me. It really does destroy me. And I remember honestly, I remember going and looking at a house in Taradale where I work, and I walked in and they were talking about it as this 3-bedroom house. It was okay. It wasn't anything special. It was, probably needed a little bit of work and stuff. It had no land. All your neighbors peered over your fence, blah, 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 blah. And I was talking to the real estate agent, and it was like, so what are they sort of expecting to make around about, for this? And they were like, asking prices around $550,000. The house went for $630,000. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. It's like $200,000 a bedroom. Like that's crazy. That's nuts. Yeah. It's absolutely nuts. Like and you sit there and go, just like to me the whole concept of being like, how am I ever going to save $100,000? Now I could like go and buy a house in, I don't know, Ekatahuna somewhere for probably much less than that. Absolutely. But there are no freaking jobs for me in Ekatahuna. So like how am I gonna, it's all very well and good to say, oh well, you could move somewhere like that and do that, but I couldn't work then, so how am I?
And the real estate agents sort of look of glee when they tell you that, like the twinkle in their eye, and you think
you're a muppet.
Yeah,
I agree. All right, cool. I think that brings you in. If you have any ideas about what you would do or any ideas about what we've talked about here, if you have any ideas about what you would do if you were a dictator for a day and could change anything about this country, leave it in the comments below, or hit us up in the Discord and let us know what you would do. I'd be really curious to see what you would do or what you think of what we've come up with so far.
100%.
Okay, so we're going to move into what's on top. So
what is on top?
Not what's on top. We've done what's on top. We're going to move into Uncanny Valley.
What isn't on top?
What isn't on top? What's into Uncanny Valley? So I found a really funny article, and this article is put out by Bumble. So for those of you that don't know what Bumble is a dating app, a little bit like Tinder.
And a character in Oliver.
Yes. So the difference with Bumble is that the lady has to message first on Bumble, right? So that's sort of their marketing their marketing thing is that they have to reply first. But anyway, they've popped out this thing about 10 modern dating definitions you need to be aware of if you're in the dating game. And I know I've been in the dating game more recently than you have. And I was quite intrigued by this list of, modern dating, sort of definitions that you need to be aware of. Now, I was aware of one of these, I wasn't aware of any of the others, but I thought we would go through these and we would see how many of these modern dating definitions, Anthony, if you were to
God, here we go.
if you were to head onto the dating scene tomorrow, how many of these you would be aware of?
God, it might be the way tonight's going.
Yeah. Well, we know your relationship's on shaky ground, so we'll
It is. So spread the word.
You know, so
Woman's Weekly, if you're open for an interview.
So I thought I would make sure you're prepared.
Cheers. No, please. I need all the preparation I can get.
Because you've done a date before.
I've done a single date.
A single date, just
one medium
just
date.
one medium date.
I just feel like we need to clarify for people that
Sorry.
don't know us, really.
Producer Caroline's looking really uncomfortable.
Oh, right. No,
now.
we're actually fine.
Yeah.
For now.
For now. Yeah.
No,
Actually, the conversation's coming after the podcast. Yeah. This has suddenly become very awkward.
Caroline's pacing backwards and forwards.
Yeah. She's now really worried.
Yeah.
You know, we need to have a talk.
Should be me.
Sorry to break it to you live on air like this. But that's what's happening.
By the way, by the time you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Anthony will be on Bumble.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so the first term.
Am I that old that I'll be joining Bumble?
It
last
is-
time
it
I was
is-
single, Tinder would have been fine, but now
No,
I'm Bumble.
no, but it's like it is one of those really weird things. Like I've had this. It is one of those really weird things. Whenever you are a little bit older, like and again living in Hawke's Bay, I think that you know. Whenever you're much younger, it's really easy because you're in a group of friends or you're surrounded by people. You're meeting people. You're meeting people all the time. When you get a little bit older, you're actually not. You're not meeting people outside of your social group very often. So it actually becomes really hard to meet new people. Weirdly,
Yeah, for sure.
So it's quite an experience, I think, getting into the dating game. So here we go.
100%.
So I'm curious to see how many of these you'll get right.
Let's see how we go.
So the first one is bad pancake, which is a noun. So what's a bad pancake?
Well, I assume a pancake that hasn't sort of been cooked properly.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So it hasn't risen. Or,
Yeah,
okay,
it's risen. So in dating terminology,
obviously,
what
it's
would a bad
metaphor.
pancake
It's a
be?
metaphor for something.
Yeah.
Is it like a misguided or an bad date?
That's a good
Kind of
guess.
thing? Bad date.
It's used to describe the first person you date after a breakup. The bad pancake is someone you don't see a future with, whom you use to test the waters of dating again.
Nice.
There we
Okay.
go. Right. Benching, which is a verb.
Benching.
Being a footballer, you know, you'll be, you know.
So I think
sort of-
what this probably is, it's putting a partner or someone aside, putting them aside for someone else in the meantime. So you may have met someone and you may think, oh, they're kind of nice, but I'm going to bench them and stay on the dating game and possibly, you know.
You're pretty much almost exactly right. So benching, also known as putting someone on the back burner. The bench is where you put someone in case you want to pick them up and start dating more serious again. It's the human equivalent of the maybe pile. Yeah. Like it's kind of like, just bench them for now. Like,
can I just say fuck that?
Yeah,
like,
I know. What a horrible...
Such a horrible
What
thing
a horrible
to do.
thing. But apparently...
A horrible thing like, oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll leave you there to pick you up
just
later,
in
maybe.
case, other things don't work out for me.
Opportunistic and awful. If you do that, then you're awful.
Okay. A blizzard buddy. It's a noun. What's a blizzard buddy?
I think a blizzard buddy would be someone that you weather the storm with.
Kind of, yeah.
You the person that's always there for you going through some shit.
Kind of.
Yeah.
That's a very romanticized view of this. A blizzard buddy is someone you develop a romantic relationship specifically for the purpose of not having to ride out a big weather event by yourself. So like winter or like,
So you're using someone for...
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Breadcrumbing.
By the way, it's not good. Breadcrumbing.
Breadcrumbing, which is a verb.
Is it like flirting or like leading someone astray? Leading someone on.
Yeah.
Thing.
I think we would probably
Breadcrumbing is also Breadcrumb Trail is also a very good Slint song.
Yeah. So breadcrumbing is the act of sending flirtatious, sporadic, and non-committal text messages to romantic interest in order to keep the interest alive without expending any effort. Is breadcrumbing. Catfishing.
I know
verb.
this. So
Yeah.
catfishing's when you pretend to be literally anything else
Yeah.
than what you are. So you're trying to trick someone into
Pretty much. Where you present a false version of yourself online, either with a fake or heavily doctored sort of identity. So you're either, you're either very heavily, using photos of you from 20 years ago to try and or whatever. Yeah.
or you're faking it. Yeah.
Or you're faking it completely. Okay. Cuffing season, a noun.
Okay.
What's
so
cuffing
producer
season?
Caroline's just indicated something to me. Is that the season where you've got to seal the deal?
Kind of.
So you're sealing the deal, you're cuffing. So
This is-
it's the proposal season.
Kind of. Yeah.
basically.
So
Yeah,
it is
engagement season.
sort
Yeah.
of.
So it's summer, isn't it?
It's well.
Spring?
No. It's actually usually autumn.
Autumn.
So it's that idea of the time of the year when singles want to partner up and settle down so they have someone to hang out with during the cold, mostly indoor months of winter.
yeah.
So that whole kind of, Cuffing season, I suppose, in a different way, yes, if you're talking about like when you're already in a relationship,
Yeah.
it's
Sorry,
probably
guys, I'm
in and around spring, where it's that whole let's get married, like,
yeah. And everyone's getting up again. It's like...
Yeah. Okay.
Now, basically.
Now, being tomorrow, being the first day of spring. Cushioning, verb. Cushioning. All of these seem to have very similar sort of meanings. But
Settling
what
down?
would cushioning be?
You're settling down a bit? Like you're...
It's when you have one main squeeze that you're dating, but perhaps you're not sure about the relationship, so you have several cushions or other romantic prospects.
I love these very cute ways of coming up with like
horrific acts, like
cheating.
horrific,
Like
horrific
low-key
things that you do.
cheating. Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
leading somebody on and just
Yeah.
keeping them there, just in case this doesn't work out.
Oh,
Yep.
cushioning. Oh, that's a cute way of saying
Yeah.
that. You're
You're a
just
horrific
playing,
person.
You're playing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, deep like, which is a verb.
Deep like. Is it a
If
bit
you
like...
deep like someone.
It's one thing to like someone when you're swiping, but to deep like is like, oh, I really like this.
That's a very romanticized way of putting this. I'm going to say that this has to do with social media.
Okay. I don't... yeah.
What would a deep like be?
Is it like when you stalk someone on
Kind
social
of.
media? So like
Kind
you
of.
like them, but you can't physically like
Kind
them
of.
because it's kind of...
It's when you go way back into somebody's social media history
Yeah.
and like something from a long time ago in order to let them know that you
Which is terrifying.
are thinking of them.
Okay.
Or this could alternatively mean when you mistakenly like for something from 2012, on somebody's thing, whenever
And
you
it's
were like,
embarrassing.
yeah, whoops.
Yeah.
Yep.
What have I done?
DTR, verb. DTR. I wasn't aware of this one. I'm aware of. I don't mean this in a horrific way, but I'm aware of DTF. But
No, I
I'm
am
not,
too.
like.
I am
but
too.
I'm not.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not. I wasn't aware of DTR.
Down to rest?
No, funnily enough, it's not down to anything.
Oh, okay. Downtown.
No, so it's not down to. It's,
So it's the sequel
something
to
else.
Downtown Abbey?
Yes, the sequel to Downtown
Downtown-
DTR. Downtown Abbey, DTR.
Movie or,
Yeah. And it's not the place that you hire your fridges
it's
and
not an
stuff from.
acronym.
It's
not
an it's an acronym.
It is an acronym. Doing the right. Doing the...
Doing the right thing.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
It's
I don't...
define the relationship. DTR.
Oh,
This is when you and the
I
person.
just don't know where we're at.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. This is the
yeah.
one where you're in a situation.
What are
with,
we? What
yeah,
are we?
Yeah. This is what was previously known as having the talk about.
Yes,
Like what
yes,
what
the
what are
talk.
we actually?
What actually are we?
Yeah,
What
DTR.
are we actually, Caroline?
Have you actually had the talk? Have you DTR'd?
It's been 5 years.
I hope
Yeah,
we have.
it's 5 years. You're living together. Have you actually defined your relationship? Yeah. This is the other one that I was aware of, which is ghosting. Very-
I know ghosting. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's when you're following someone, but without them knowing, presumably.
Ooh, no, that's not what.
Oh
ghosting
no!
is.
Sorry, no. Ghosting is when you're not responding to someone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you're pretending that like they're not like.
It's
yeah.
basically when
Yeah.
you disappear.
Yeah.
Like so you sort of have been like flirtatiously messaging or hanging out or whatever, and then you just disappear.
Yeah.
They don't hear from you again.
Yeah.
Like is ghosting. Haunting, which is a verb.
Oh my god.
So it's related obviously to ghosting, but
Is it when-
haunting is a
Is this a creepy
verb.
thing? Like we're just stalking someone? But...
No, it's not. It's not creepy, but like yeah.
Can
Yes,
Yeah.
producer Caroline's got an answer.
Is it like on social media when you and another person have a thing going, but then they kind of ghost you, but they like occasionally like a picture or something? Or
Producer Caroline's almost right. Producer Caroline's closer. So haunting is when somebody who ghosted you in the past suddenly comes back to life.
Oh, okay.
Usually with like a random
so funny.
text or like
I think
something
that's
like
so
that.
funny.
Yeah, is
That's
haunting.
so funny.
We would know this as a slightly different thing, but instaficial,
Instaficial.
which is a
Oh,
noun.
Instagram official.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's when you finally post a picture of you with your significant
Yeah.
other on Instagram.
Yeah.
To be like, we're in a
Yeah,
relationship.
that's the one. So
It's
like
like Facebook official.
we would. I was going
Yeah,
to say we would
yeah.
know this as Facebook official, which
Yeah.
is that moment where you change your like relationship status to being like we're now in a relationship, which is
Yeah.
you are now Facebook official, which we know as.
Yeah.
But as we all know, the
The
young
comments being like, we never saw
oh,
it
that's
coming.
coming. Like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
like. That's because we're old, because young people don't use Facebook anymore, so
Yeah.
it's not Facebook, it's Instaficial. You're Instaficial when
Instaficial.
you've taken your first picture with you and your other significant other and posted it online. Monkeying, verb.
It's when you're playing
Monkeying.
around, mucking around.
That's a good guess.
You're playing the fool.
It's producer Caroline thinks it's a weird sex move. No, it's in the same way that monkeys swing from branch to branch without touching the ground. Someone who goes from relationship to relationship with no downtime is said to be
okay.
monkeying.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you'll know this one. I knew this one. Netflix and chill. Yeah.
Yes.
Now.
Very old, by the way. Be like, oh,
I know this one. I know this one.
Netflix and chill.
Well, Netflix and
is
chill.
when you essentially set up some sort of date to watch Netflix, but it ends up being something more than that.
Yeah.
As you're watching,
Where you're not going to
something.
be watching Netflix.
You're not watching Netflix.
Yeah,
You're-
like
yeah.
it's the
It's on in
like
the background.
what would be the old person's equivalent for that for us is which is what was it?
The drive-in cinema.
Like the drive-in cinema and chill. No,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
was
It is, though.
No,
It
but
is.
like the old person equivalent was like would you like to come in for coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, was the
Which
old
is still a
person.
thing, I think.
Which is
coming in for coffee.
yeah,
Still a thing.
which was
Yeah.
was the original like
Yeah.
Netflix and chill. On a thing, noun. So
On a
you're
thing.
you're on a thing.
There's many different meanings for that.
Okay, this is not a rude meaning for this. This is remember. So we're talking about relationships. We're talking about like what is it when you're on a thing. If
I
you-
don't know. That's too vague.
Okay, so on a thing is when you're in a romantic relationship that's not quite official, but not exactly casual.
Oh, okay.
Is that you're on a thing? So you haven't had the, but you haven't had the.
Just dating.
You haven't DTR'd yet, so you haven't defined the relationship, but you're a little bit more than like casual, like yeah.
How do you kids function? Like how everything's so like. I mean, it was
It's so hard.
It was like this when I was growing up too. I mean, but we didn't have fantastic words for it because you guys are much better at coming up with words. But like, this sounds so stressful.
Yeah,
This is so
it is really stressful.
It's so stressful.
It
you
actually
guys.
is. It actually
Come
is.
on.
It actually is so stressful. Dating later on in your life, so stressful.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I'm 20.
It is like there is a part of you that gets to this point where whenever you're in a relationship, there's this part of you that gets where you go, thank God I never have to fucking do that again.
Absolutely.
Like
yeah.
dating is so.
I mean, I haven't been single since I've been 22. I'm 27. I haven't been single since I was 22.
Wow.
Which is
disgusting.
yeah, that's crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
pen pal, which is a noun.
Did you say pan pal?
Pen pal. We would have said this was somebody that you write letters to consistently. Is a pen pal. What is a pen pal? In relationship terms.
Is it someone like that you copy homework off of?
This is to do with dating.
Okay. Someone that you text a lot but don't actually see a lot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Just a pen pal. A person with whom you text or message frequently, but hardly ever see in real life.
Been there. Yeah,
Is a
been
pen-
there,
is a
been
pen
there,
pal.
done that. When
Yeah.
I was younger. Yeah.
Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. Okay,
Oh, it was actually we sent each other mail.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in that relationship too.
Yeah.
We used to send letters
Yeah.
because I'm that old.
Yeah.
I legitimately used to send letters.
Amazing.
Yep. Situationship. Noun. What is a situationship, Anthony?
You're in a relationship based on the situation. So, like for example, there are certain parties or places where you're together, but outside of that, nah.
That's a good guess. Not quite though. It's where you are in a romantic relationship that doesn't have a label, and you haven't DTR'd yet. You're in a situationship. You haven't, we're not quite like,
So it's the same as a thing. Or
Yeah.
in a thing.
on a thing is sort of the same situationship. Anthony and I have a situationship.
We do.
We've never defined our relationship. It's a situationship. Anthony was.
You can't define what isn't definable by words.
To put this into context,
mere mortals don't have the capacity to
understand
articulate what we have.
Look, like we were talking about this before.
The stars in the heavens.
Anthony, we had to take a little break between what's on top and the thing, which we normally do. We normally take a little bit of a break between what's on top, because those of you that have ever tuned into our streams know that Anthony needs to go to the bathroom every 20 minutes. So generally, we do what's on top. Anthony goes to the bathroom, and we come back and do this. And
My bladder is the...
we do. We work around Anthony's
We have a
bladder.
breakup, it's because of my bladder.
Yeah. And so producer Caroline asked Anthony to go and grab her a blanket, and Anthony was like, "No, I'm not going inside." And I said, "Anthony, can you grab me another beer?" And he was like, "Yep, okay." I walked into a grab, and I said, "See, this is because he loves me more than you." So this is we're in a situationship, because we haven't actually defined our relationship, have we? We're in a situationship.
It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
You'll know this. You'll know, or you'll be able to guess what I reckon. Slow fade. Now, if you slow fade someone.
So it's when producer Caroline, can you please slow fade my vocals right now? It's when you slowly phase someone out of your life.
Yep, you're exactly right. When you a way to passively aggressively break up with somebody by gradually removing yourself from their life in subtle stages. So
which is awful, by the way.
Yeah, just have the conversation.
Just break up.
Yeah.
Just be like, look, sorry.
This is not working. Yeah.
Don't drag this poor person on and make it feel like it's their fault.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because this is and you put people through like producer Caroline's just coughing up a lung in the corner over there.
Can you please die quietly?
Yeah, just quietly.
Deceased?
No, we're not starting from the beginning.
We're not.
No, we're going to keep your coughing fit in there.
Caroline,
because-
we are DTF.
Yeah,
we are
yeah,
DTF. Oh wait, no.
You really don't want to mix those. You really don't want to mix those ones up, because otherwise you are going to find yourself in some horrific situations. Anthony.
Sorry.
People are going to get the wrong idea.
DTR. Sorry.
The horrific thing about slow fading somebody is that you put them through a hell of a lot of time where they're not sure what's going on, where they feel like they've done something wrong, where it's an awful way of doing stuff.
Awful. And because quite often when you're slow fading, like if you're not having a clean breakup, it's usually because you're just not compatible.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you're slow fading, it's because you feel too bad to break it off because there's nothing terrible that's happened. Have the decency just to, if you're slow fading, it's because they're too nice or because you feel you can get away with it.
Have the conversation, like, I think if you, like, those conversations are never easy, yeah? Like, it's never easy to have those conversations, but the person will come out the other end respecting you so much more for turning around and saying, "Hey, look, I'm just not feeling that. This is not working for me. I think you're great. It's nothing that you're doing. It's just I don't feel that we're particularly compatible. I don't feel that I am in love with you or attracted to you in the way that I should be for somebody that I want to date." And that might be really hard for the person to hear, but ultimately they're going to respect you so much more for turning around and saying that, rather than just
James
gradually
and I
removing.
have always taken great wisdom in the words of the great hit musical Mamma Mia. Breaking up is never easy, I know, but I have to know.
I thought you were going to go for, I thought you were going to say that we've always taken great wisdom from Mamma Mia, where we all potentially could have fathered this child, but fuck it, we won't find out. You know, we'll all just be dead.
Until the wedding.
Yeah.
Until the most important day of your life, we'll all stand up at the end.
And be like, no, I am Spartacus.
Yeah,
Like,
I am Spartacus. And then everyone will stab each other in the back.
Yeah,
No, but
that's-
no, that was Caesar, sorry.
The moral of
Yeah.
the moral of the story is just everyone can be your dad. That's how it works. Everyone can be.
Everyone can be your dad.
That's the moral. That's the moral of.
Yeah,
that's the
it
moral of
is,
Mamma
it
Mia.
is.
That's the moral I got. Is that the moral you got?
Yeah,
Throw a fire curtain behind that shit and some confetti cannons, and it makes sense. Yeah.
Fire Sophie.
I love that. I love that. Legitimately, every podcast ends up with us ragging on Mamma Mia in some way.
Yeah.
Like this one, I think this one. This is the last one. This one is a. I think this is a really old one. Like I don't think that. I think I remember this sort of being around whenever I was a teenager, which is the dark ages. But apparently, it's making a comeback. Is tuning, when you're tuning someone.
Is that when you're working out whether they're compatible with you? Because you're tuning like a TV or...
Yeah, it's like it's legitimately just like flirting. You're like tuning
okay.
someone. You're laying in.
Which
we
kind
used
of
to,
works.
We
what I-
used to
with
call
what
it.
I
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
You're
We used to
working out
call it.
whether you're
We used to
compatible.
call it like it's been known as so many things over the years. Tuning or like the other one was spading, where you're putting the spade work in, like to like.
Gross,
get
but,
towards a relationship. You're spading on
Spading,
someone.
it's
Yeah.
like a pet.
Yeah, it's weird. Eh?
It's gross,
But
yeah.
like, it was one of those things where you're putting the work in to like, let them know that you like them and all of those kinds of things. So there you go. I think you did all right in the.
Thanks. Yeah.
Aside from your.
Yeah, that Caroline, I did okay.
Aside from your, what do you call it?
You
Random.
doubted me.
Aside from your random go-tos of like DTF, every time we kept coming to acronyms,
Sorry, guys.
DTF just kept jumping into your brain. Yeah. Other than that, it was good. Look, Anthony. I hope we never DTR. I hope we never define
I'm
this
with you on
relationship.
that.
I think I hope we just
That's part of the mystery.
we
of
just
it.
stay in a situationship for the rest of our lives. Yeah.
I love feeling like I'm
Yeah.
in limbo. I
Yeah,
love the
I
feeling of-
thought so.
Yeah.
There's just, as you said, some mystery there. Some
There is.
know.
It's a little bit like a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
There's no it's never quite perfectly defined. The
Our relationship will never have a satisfying conclusion, is what you're saying.
Our relationship will never have a satisfying. Talking of satisfying conclusions, basically every Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
So like we're basically a Stephen King novel where we have this fantastic beginning, phenomenal middle,
Yeah.
and doesn't quite end well.
Yeah.
But it never has to end,
Yeah. I like that.
and that's what's so lovely
That's-
about it. We will never end.
This would just go on
Yeah.
and on forever.
Unlike Stephen King, we're not on so
Yeah.
much cocaine in
Yeah.
the 80s.
The problem is that producer Caroline is the realization is very slowly sinking in that she's going to be stuck with me for the rest of time.
the rest of her life. Yeah, and that's what we're doing. Yeah,
Personally, pretty excited about this.
yeah. This is the result.
Yeah. Okay. 30-second waffle.
30-second waffle.
Let's do this.
Are you
Now, I'm starting, I think, because I think am I?
I think you are.
Well,
I
I am now.
Boom, too
Boom.
late.
Okay. Producer Caroline is standing behind the camera, looking like an Eskimo, wrapped in her blanket.
not
I'm
that
here. I'm here in my
pretty
t-shirt.
cold.
Producer Caroline is in a blanket.
Yeah.
Uh,
not
getting
that
ready.
cold.
Okay, so let's see. This one is from Ted Star.
Hello,
Oh,
Ted
good.
Star.
Hello, Ted Star. Which means this is going to be an annoying question. Right. Okay. Here we go.
I'm a big fan of
Why
Ted Star.
parodies of songs should be on the charts and never the original? Why parodies of songs should be in the charts and
How's that
but
possible, though?
never the original?
But but it's post.
Parodies of songs should be on the charts and never the original, because we all know that parodies of songs are far better than the originals. So, I mean, all you have to do is look at the career of Mr. Weird Al
I knew
Yankovic
you were going
to know that parody songs are they're just so much better. The videos are funnier. The musical ideas behind them are fresher. They take the piss out of themselves. So musical parodies should always be in the charts rather than the originals. That's a really hard one because
Good
again,
answer.
it's a hard one because as you said, if the original's not in the chart, then you don't know enough
Yeah.
about the
It
song
wouldn't have become a parody song.
that the parody ends up
Yeah.
being funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. Okay, cool. Right, you're up.
All right, here we go.
Upstage hand. See, I remember my directions from a year ago.
Nice. Yep. A year ago, it's much sooner than
It's nearly a year ago.
that. Ant. And this is Insta Chris DJ.
This is trying to reproduce
I-
a Caroline's.
we know. Yep.
Okay, so this is trying to reproduce a Caroline's handwriting.
Cool.
Why do we let producer Caroline do this?
I know.
Should make her type them out.
Worst. I know.
Yeah.
We should. Chris. Yes. Promote, in your opinion, mine truly, the worst show, in brackets theatre, in order to sell a world tour.
That's okay. I'll be interested to see which show you go for.
Really
This is the worst show, is in which you think the worst show is of all time. Okay.
I would go. This is really hard. I would probably go.
Just say it.
He's speechless, lost for words.
How long do I have? 10 seconds.
yeah. 10 seconds.
9, 8.
This is.
Mamma Mia.
Oh, it's just so bad, isn't it? It's just so bad.
It's just not great. Okay, look. I'm gonna speak out. I'm gonna speak out about Mamma Mia. This is probably the first time I have actually on the podcast, probably. So I saw Mamma Mia on the West End. I'm gonna be one of those people. I saw the show on the West End in 2008.
Yep.
So just over 10 years ago. We then saw it at the movie theatre in England. I think we saw it in Kent or something. So that was the second time I'd seen Mamma Mia.
I'm already feeling sorry for you.
So then we came back home. Oh no, we saw it then on DVD in
Yeah.
England. So
Oh,
I'd
good
seen it
God.
3 times in England before. Then we came back home and we saw it on DVD again. Then we saw it at the movie theatre in Napier.
Just why? Why are you doing
Because
this to yourself?
because the time zones are caught up.
Why are you doing this to yourself?
They go like,
Yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, we're 14 days ahead.
Yeah.
So we finally get Mamma at the cinema. So we saw it then, and then I think we saw it in Auckland.
Yeah.
And then we saw it, I think, again on DVD for some reason, because we like.
I'm still trying to work
Walking
out
ourselves
why
in the
you're
back. It's a bit
watching
like
this so often.
Vinci.
Yeah.
And then Napier Operatic did Mamma Mia, and I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing
Yeah.
it. And then they were like, we need men because we always need men in shows. And I finally got dragged into it, and I pretty much like, and I was like, oh look, I'll do it because it'll be fun, and I want to do the flipper dance. Mum will love it.
Good reason to do a show. Mum, I love it.
And dad as well, and like I literally did it just so that I could make my mum and dad happy, and I actually had a good time because I met some. I got to have some good times with some friends and stuff.
Yeah.
But by that point, I think I'd experienced Mamma Mia, I think over 60 times. So
Why?
So I wasn't. So look, I don't necessarily hate Mamma Mia. I don't hate Mamma Mia.
I do.
I have huge issues with Mamma Mia, and I have problems with why it's so successful. And I think it's a jukebox musical to end all jukebox musicals. But that's it. That's basically it. That's why. That's where
I hate
I'm
it.
just done. I'm done with it. I've had enough.
I hate it. I can't
Fair
imagine.
enough.
I can't imagine any reason why you'd want to watch it so often. I hate it. Right. Okay. Cool. Next one. Flick us one. Let's Let's see how we go.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
you've destroyed the lamp again! Anthony did this the last time. So for those of you that aren't watching this, you won't understand what's just happened. Anthony has just destroyed the lamp bulbing. Yeah. And he did this the last time we had this. These bulbs seem to have a thing where if you hit them, they all of a sudden become really bright.
Go supernova.
And Anthony's just destroyed this one as well. Okay, cool. Chris JDSS again from Instagram. All right. Peanut butter should be allowed in schools as population control. Modern day plague.
Wait, what?
Okay, cool. So we're talking about that peanut butter should be allowed in to control the population into schools. Excellent. Okay. I believe that peanut butter should be allowed into schools to control the population. In fact, I'd go one step further. I think all sorts of normal food should be allowed into schools to control the population. And if kids just can't handle them, they should die. And because ultimately, think of the buffalo theory, yes, where we kill off the weaker members of the species in order for the entire herd to run faster. I think the educational outcomes for everybody would be better if we just got rid of the chaff. If you cannot handle peanut butter, life is going to kick you in the nuts. So you should not.
Nice.
You should not be allowed to be at school if you can't eat peanut butter.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually.
Obviously,
It's very
Population go. Obviously, we don't endorse people dying due to
We
food,
don't. We
food-related
don't.
food-related allergies.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, Anthony.
Is this the final one?
It's the final countdown.
It gives
Get
me
out
so
your-
much life.
Get out your
terrible
vuvuzela.
instrumentals for. This is from Heisenberg, who is Thomas.
That's a good one.
Okay, what have we got?
Here we go. Why Size Gangnam
Jesus, it's a
Style
novel.
is nothing short of a masterpiece, and the fact that it has 3.3 billion views on YouTube shows it is the greatest and pinnacle of songwriting.
Okay. I don't know that Anthony particularly disagrees with this. We're rocking out to it all the time.
I tell you what, I actually think Gangnam Style is actually a modern pop masterpiece.
It's a banger.
And it is. You cannot argue with that. The fact you don't get 3.3 billion views for nothing. You get that through fantastic songmanship. And I think Gangnam Style has a flair to it, and it's infectious. And I think that is what you ask for from pop. It is a modern pop masterpiece simply because it is catchy, it is brilliant, and the choreography is stunning and something to be remembered.
Boom. Great answer.
And I mean that. I really do.
Actually,
mean that.
I
really
bizarrely
do
agree
mean
with you.
that. I think it's fantastic.
I think that
yeah.
one thing that he has that not a lot of other people have is a flair and a uniqueness about it. And that's like whether you like it or you hate it, it's unique. Yeah? So like you will watch it and go, okay, it's not so much of the pop that's thrown out is so generic and so whatever that in 10 years' time you won't even remember it or you won't listen to it or whatever. It's unique. It has a flair to it. It's something interesting and different. So I don't know that I disagree with that. I think there are certainly plenty of songs you could have picked that were harder than that one to justify why they're masterpieces or why people should be listening to them.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm done. I've already done 2. You've done 2. We're already done.
We had 2. Oh, sorry, I thought we had 3.
We've smashed through.
It's been so long that I've forgotten.
We've smashed through. It was 30-second
Goodness
waffles.
me.
Just
Wow.
boom, done.
Wow.
So thank you for joining us here
thanks,
again
guys.
on the podcast. And obviously tomorrow is the first day of spring, and we've just had Daffodil
is.
Day. Hence the reason we have some lovely daffodils here, provided by producer Caroline, just to dress up the set a little bit. Apologies to those of you that are watching this on YouTube. You now have to stare at Anthony's incredibly bright light that he's just broken again.
I've blown up everything.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. And look, I'm sorry.
Like,
You
it's
have
every
failed.
time- and-
you have failed as a
and-
light bulb. All you take is a little touch, and you blow up supernova. I'm sorry. You have failed.
This is the second time he's done this. Producer Caroline is going to strangle him off camera later on.
Yeah, it's
She's just had enough.
Don't kink shame me.
Yeah. Whatever you're into. So thank you for joining us here again on the podcast. We've had a hell of a lot of fun. We're enjoying this 2-week stint. Hopefully you're enjoying, waiting for our podcasts every 2 weeks. Hopefully
We've been here for 2 weeks, by the way.
Yes, just thinking of a podcast.
Yeah,
that's what we're
trying
doing.
to come up with ideas. And,
yeah. You can't see the mounds of paper that are just off the side of the table with all our scribbles and diagrams on them.
It's like the New York Times circa the 40s.
We've got like pieces of string connecting photographs and all sorts of stuff over in the corner. This is what goes into creating every podcast that you see. So obviously by the time this goes out on Monday, you will have joined Anthony for Minecraft on Sunday. Anthony and Caroline are going to play some Minecraft, and then we're back with some Detroit Become Human on Wednesday. I'm really curious because obviously I was very crook, so I wasn't there. So I'm really curious to see how we've gone and where we're at.
That's good.
So I'll be really interested to see how it's all gonna play out, because I think you're probably by this stage you're heading into the end game. So it'll be really interesting to see how that all plays out. And then obviously Sunday after that, you'll be joining me back again for Final Fantasy 15. So,
ironically named because it's not going to be the Final Fantasy. You're going to be joining James for at least 20 parts.
It's going to be the longest series of streams I think we're probably ever going to do. But that's all right, because it's a great game and we all love it. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a fantastic week.
No, thank you.
Look up. No.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Just don't tell me what to do.
No. Have a great week, guys.
Thanks, everyone.